World War II, a global conflict spanning from 1939 to 1945, remains etched in human memory as a period of unprecedented destruction and loss. It was a war that engulfed nations across continents, leaving behind a trail of devastation and profoundly shaping the course of history. From the beaches of Normandy to the jungles of the Pacific, millions fought and perished in a struggle against tyranny and oppression. The echoes of this conflict continue to resonate today, reminding us of the fragility of peace and the importance of understanding the forces that led to such a cataclysm. The sheer scale of World War II is staggering. It involved the vast majority of the world's nations, including all of the great powers, and resulted in an estimated 50 to 85 million fatalities. Civilians bore the brunt of the conflict, with bombing raids, systematic genocide, and wartime atrocities becoming grim hallmarks of the era. Entire cities were reduced to rubble, economies were shattered, and societies were torn apart by the horrors they witnessed. Despite the darkness that enveloped the world during those tumultuous years, World War II also witnessed extraordinary acts of courage, resilience, and sacrifice. Ordinary men and women rose to meet extraordinary challenges, displaying unwavering bravery on the front lines and unwavering resolve on the home front. The Allied victory, hard-won through years of struggle and sacrifice, ultimately marked the triumph of democracy over fascism and laid the foundation for a new world order. The roots of World War II can be traced back to the aftermath of World War I. The Treaty of Versailles, intended to ensure lasting peace, instead sowed the seeds of resentment and instability. Germany, burdened with crippling reparations and blamed for the war, faced economic ruin and political turmoil. The treaty's harsh terms fostered a deep sense of humiliation and injustice among the German population, creating fertile ground for extremist ideologies to take root. Amidst the economic and political chaos of post-war Europe, totalitarian regimes rose to power, exploiting widespread discontent and promising order and national rejuvenation. In Germany, Adolf Hitler's Nazi Party, fueled by nationalist fervor and anti-Semitic hatred, seized control in 1933. Hitler's expansionist ambitions, outlined in his manifesto Mein Kampf, aimed to restore German dominance in Europe and create a vast Aryan empire. The League of Nations, established after World War I to prevent future conflicts, proved powerless to contain the growing aggression. Hampered by a lack of military might and plagued by indecision among its member states, the League failed to enforce its own resolutions and deter aggressors. The policy of appeasement adopted by Britain and France, driven by a desire to avoid another devastating war, only emboldened Hitler. The fragile peace that had held since the end of World War I was shattered on September 1, 1939, when Nazi Germany, in a carefully orchestrated act of aggression, invaded Poland. Hitler's Blitzkrieg, a lightning war strategy employing tanks, aircraft, and mobile infantry, swiftly overwhelmed the Polish defenses. Despite their valiant resistance, the Polish forces, outmatched and outgunned, were forced to capitulate. The invasion of Poland triggered an immediate response from Great Britain and France, who, bound by treaty obligations, declared war on Germany on September 3, 1939. However, their initial response was hesitant and largely symbolic. The British and French, still haunted by the horrors of the First World War, were reluctant to commit to a full-scale conflict. This period, known as the Phoney War or Sitzkrieg, saw little actual fighting on the Western Front. The relative calm of the Phoney War was shattered in April 1940 when Germany, emboldened by its swift victory in Poland, launched a surprise attack on Denmark and Norway. The Scandinavian countries, caught off guard, were quickly overrun. The following month, Germany unleashed its Blitzkrieg on Western Europe, invading Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg. The speed and ferocity of the German advance took the Allies by surprise, and within weeks, France itself was under attack. The fall of France in June 1940 was a stunning victory for Germany and a crushing blow to the Allied cause. With France occupied, Great Britain stood alone against the Nazi war machine. The Battle of Britain, an epic air campaign fought over the skies of England, became a pivotal moment in the war. The Royal Air Force, despite being outnumbered, fought valiantly against the Luftwaffe, ultimately thwarting Hitler's plans for an invasion of Britain. World War II was a truly global conflict, with battles raging across continents and oceans. The war's major theatres of operation were marked by distinct geographical features, strategic objectives, and military tactics. From the frozen steppes of the Eastern Front to the sweltering jungles of the Pacific, soldiers fought and died in some of the most inhospitable conditions imaginable. The European theatre encompassed the fighting in Western, Northern, and Southern Europe, as well as the Atlantic Ocean. It was characterized by large-scale land battles, strategic bombing campaigns, and naval warfare. Key battles in this theatre included the Battle of France, the Battle of Britain, the Battle of the Atlantic, the North African Campaign, the Italian Campaign, and the D-Day landings and subsequent liberation of France. The Eastern Front, stretching from the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea, was the site of the largest and deadliest clashes of World War II. The conflict between Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union was marked by its brutality, with both sides committing atrocities. Key battles on the Eastern Front included the Battle of Moscow, the Siege of Leningrad, the Battle of Stalingrad, and the Battle of Kursk. The Pacific Theatre encompassed the fighting in the Pacific Ocean, Southeast Asia, and China. It was characterized by island-hopping campaigns, naval battles, and air warfare. Key battles in this theatre included the attack on Pearl Harbor, the Battle of Midway, the Battle of Guadalcanal, the Battle of Iwo Jima, and the Battle of Okinawa. The Mediterranean and North African theatres were strategically important for both the Allies and the Axis powers. Control of the Mediterranean Sea was crucial for shipping lanes and access to oil fields. Key battles in these theatres included the North African Campaign, the Battle of El Alamein, the invasion of Sicily, and the Italian Campaign. Within the vast canvas of World War II, certain battles stand out as pivotal turning points, marking significant shifts in momentum and ultimately shaping the war's outcome. These clashes, often fought with incredible ferocity and at great human cost, tested the limits of endurance and determined the fate of nations. The Battle of Stalingrad, fought between 1942 and 1943, took place in the ruins of Stalingrad, a strategically important city on the Volga River. This battle marked a turning point on the Eastern Front. The German Sixth Army, considered invincible after its swift conquest, became bogged down in brutal street fighting. The Soviet Red Army, fueled by a fierce determination to defend their homeland, launched a counteroffensive that encircled and trapped the German forces. The German defeat at Stalingrad, with over 800,000 casualties, marked the limit of their advance in the east and shifted the momentum of the war in favor of the Allies. D-Day, on June 6, 1944, saw the Allied invasion of Normandy, France, codenamed Operation Overlord, which was the largest amphibious assault in history. On that day, over 150,000 Allied troops landed on the beaches of Normandy, facing fierce resistance from the German defenders. Despite heavy losses, the Allies secured a foothold in France, opening up a Western front and paving the way for the liberation of Western Europe. D-Day marked the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. By 1945, the tide of World War II had decisively turned against the Axis powers. Germany, battered by years of relentless Allied bombing and facing overwhelming manpower shortages, was on the verge of collapse. In the Pacific, Japan, despite its fanatical resistance, was being steadily pushed back by the advancing American forces. On the Western Front, Allied forces, led by General Dwight D. Eisenhower, surged into Germany, while in the east, the Red Army, under the command of General Georgy Zhukov, closed in on Berlin. As the Allies advanced, they uncovered the full horror of the Nazi regime, liberating concentration camps and exposing the genocide that had been perpetrated against Jews, Roma, and other minorities. On April 30th, 1945, with Soviet troops just blocks away, Adolf Hitler committed suicide in his underground bunker in Berlin. A week later, on May 7, 1945, Germany surrendered unconditionally to the Allies in Reims, France. The war in Europe was over. In the Pacific, the war raged on. The Battle of Okinawa, which lasted from April to June 1945, was one of the bloodiest of the Pacific War, with heavy casualties on both sides. The Japanese, fighting with fanatical determination, refused to surrender even when facing certain defeat. Faced with the prospect of a costly invasion of the Japanese mainland, President Harry S. Truman made the fateful decision to use atomic bombs against Japan. On August 6, 1945, an American B-29 bomber, the Enola Gay, dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, Japan, instantly killing an estimated 80,000 people and causing widespread devastation. 3 days later, a second atomic bomb was dropped on Nagasaki, killing another 40,000 people. On August 15, 1945, Japan announced its surrender to the Allies, officially ending World War II. World War II left an indelible mark on the world, its impact reverberating across generations. The war's consequences were profound and far-reaching, reshaping political boundaries, transforming global power dynamics, and leaving an enduring legacy of trauma and loss. The human cost of World War II was staggering. An estimated 50 to 85 million people perished in the conflict, including soldiers and civilians. Entire cities lay in ruins, economies were shattered, and families were torn apart by the horrors they witnessed. The Holocaust, the systematic genocide of 6 million Jews by the Nazi regime, stands as a stark reminder of the depths of human depravity to which hatred and intolerance can lead. The war had a devastating impact on global economies. Years of fighting had ravaged industries, disrupted trade, and depleted national treasuries. The post-war years witnessed widespread poverty, famine, and displacement as nations struggled to rebuild their shattered infrastructures and economies. Politically, World War II led to the emergence of the United States and the Soviet Union as superpowers, each with competing ideologies and spheres of influence. This bipolar world order set the stage for the Cold War, a period of geopolitical tension and rivalry that would shape the latter half of the 20th century. The war also had a profound impact on social and cultural norms. The horrors of the Holocaust led to a global reckoning with anti-Semitism and other forms of intolerance. The wartime experiences of women and minorities challenged traditional gender roles and societal structures, paving the way for social and political movements that would reshape the post-war world. The aftermath of World War II witnessed a fundamental reshaping of the global order. The old empires crumbled, replaced by a new world order defined by the rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union. International organizations such as the United Nations were established in an attempt to prevent future conflicts and foster global cooperation. The United Nations, founded in 1945, emerged from the ashes of World War II with a mandate to maintain international peace and security, promote social progress, and uphold human rights. The UN's Charter, signed by 50 nations, reflected a collective desire to prevent another such conflict and work towards a more just and equitable world order. The war also accelerated decolonization movements in Asia, Africa, and the Caribbean. European powers, weakened by the war, found it increasingly difficult to maintain their colonial empires. Inspired by the Allied victory and the principles of self-determination, nationalist movements gained momentum, leading to the independence of numerous former colonies in the post-war decades. The Cold War, a period of geopolitical tension between the United States and the Soviet Union, cast a long shadow over the post-war world. Both superpowers engaged in an arms race, developing nuclear weapons and vying for influence in various regions of the world. The Cold War shaped international relations, fueled proxy wars, and influenced political and economic systems for decades. The war also spurred technological advancements, particularly in the fields of aviation, medicine, and nuclear energy. The development of jet engines, antibiotics, and nuclear power, while initially driven by wartime needs, had profound implications for civilian life in the post-war era. World War II, despite its distance in time, continues to hold profound lessons for humanity. The conflict stands as a stark reminder of the fragility of peace, the dangers of unchecked nationalism, and the importance of diplomacy, dialogue, and understanding. The rise of totalitarian regimes in the 1930s highlights the importance of safeguarding democratic institutions, upholding the rule of law, and protecting human rights. The failure of appeasement teaches us that aggression, if left unchecked, can have devastating consequences. The Holocaust serves as a chilling reminder of the dangers of hatred, prejudice, and indifference. World War II also underscores the importance of international cooperation and collective security. The United Nations, despite its imperfections, remains a vital forum for dialogue, diplomacy, and conflict resolution. Multilateralism, the principle of nations working together to address common challenges, is more important than ever in a world facing complex global issues such as climate change, pandemics, and terrorism. The legacy of World War II is a complex and multifaceted one. It is a story of immense suffering, but also of extraordinary courage, resilience, and sacrifice. It is a reminder of the capacity for both good and evil that exists within humanity. As we grapple with the challenges of the 21st century, it is essential to remember the lessons of the past and strive to create a more peaceful, just, and sustainable world for all.